Instead of Fernandes, Man United's most important player must now be captain. Welcome to Manchester United Daily Updates. Manchester United have endured a very difficult few weeks, with Erik ten Hag's side suffering some embarrassing results in the process. The Red Devils have failed to win any of their last 4 matches in all competitions in a run that has included 1 defeat and 3 draws. Whilst on the face of it, the run may not seem as awful as many have made out, the club have thrown away victories against FC Twente and Porto in the Europa League after leading in both encounters. The defeat against Tottenham Hotspur was a real blow, with Ten Hag's side being outclassed by Ange Postecoglou's men at Old Trafford, sending them to their 3rd league defeat already in 2024-25. One player in particular was disappointing during the defeat, whilst also producing a just as embarrassing display in the Europa League earlier this week. Bruno Fernandes' stats against Porto. After his sending off against Spurs last weekend, midfielder Bruno Fernandes went into the meeting in his home nation with a point to prove and make up for his dismissal at Old Trafford. Whilst his red card was rescinded after a review by the Premier League's panel, it would have undoubtedly been playing in the back of his mind for the clash in the Europa League. However, in a game of redemption, Fernandes failed to make a positive impression for Ten Hag's side, often looking clumsy and wasteful in possession. The 30-year-old managed 67 touches during the draw, losing 6 duels and losing possession 10 times, as he failed to turn the game in the Red Devils' favour. His misery was compounded late on, receiving a 2nd yellow card for a high boot. With Fernandes seeing red for the 2nd time in as many fixtures, it's safe to say that his actions in recent games aren't those of a club captain, with his leadership role potentially coming into question, which could allow one player to take the reins in the near future, the man who could replace Fernandes as United's captain. Andre Onana endured a tricky first few months at Old Trafford, bringing his addition into question after the club forked out £47 million for his signature last summer. Pundit Chris Sutton was among those firing criticism the way of the former Inter Milan star last autumn, suggesting that he was a downgrade on his predecessor, David De Gea. By the goalkeeper's own admission, it took him 6 months to feel good in Manchester. However, he's rapidly turned his fortunes around, producing numerous moments of magic so far this campaign, which includes a brilliant penalty save away at Southampton and a tremendous double save against Crystal Palace which secured Ten Hag's side a vital point. Whilst the defence admittedly hasn't been up to the standards required so far this season, he has the leadership qualities and the presence that are required of someone to lead the club out of the current tricky period, as previously hailed by pundit Shaka Hislop. His subsequent personal displays led to Statman Dave dubbing the shot stopper as United's most important player so far this season, with his performances saving United on many occasions. Given Fernandes' recent lack of leadership with his back-to-back dismissals, his position as captain must surely come into question, with his careless nature in certain situations restricting the club from emerging out of the current rut. Onana would be an excellent choice to take over the armband, demonstrating all the qualities the Portuguese international lacks in that department, potentially handing him the added confidence boost and helping the backline transform their recent fortunes. Erik ten Hag Man United future live, Sir Jim Ratcliffe's verdict amid sack pressure. Manchester United live news as manager Erik ten Hag faces a pivotal weekend when his team travels to Aston Villa in the Premier League. Manchester United manager Erik ten Hag is under increasing pressure at Old Trafford, especially after Sir Jim Ratcliffe gave his verdict on the Dutchman's future. Speaking after Ineos Britannia progressed to the finals of Sailing's America's Cup, Ratcliffe declared that he liked ten Hag as a coach, but ultimately the decision over whether he stays or goes does not lie with him. Instead, that duty is with those he appointed at Old Trafford in the summer, chiefly Dan Ashworth, Omar Berrada and Sir Dave Brailsford. If Ten Hag was hoping to impress the powers that be this week, he certainly got off to the right start in Porto as United raced into a 2-goal lead. However, things soon turned sour as the Reds chucked that advantage away to fall behind 3-2 at the start of the second half. Harry Maguire rescued a point for his team after Bruno Fernandes was sent off 10 minutes before stoppage time, but it has done little to end the uncertainty surrounding his future. It is widely believed that Sunday's clash with Aston Villa will be a defining moment for Ten Hag as Ineos weighs up their options. Bruno releases statement. Ten Hag has not been helped by the red cards for Bruno Fernandes in the past couple of games. He got unlucky against Spurs and that was rescinded, while against Porto he was also unfortunate, but given it was a 2nd yellow card there could be no VAR intervention. Man United face non-negotiable transfer deal as Erik ten Hag's sack process defined. Latest Manchester United transfer news as Men's Sport brings you the latest on Erik Ten Hag and Alejandro Garnacho. It's set to be a huge weekend for Manchester United and Erik Ten Hag. After seeing their lead against FC Porto escape them, United are winless in 4 games and Ten Hag is under pressure. Sunday's game with Aston Villa could be the Dutchman's final game in charge of the club, with many expecting the hierarchy to make a change in the dugout if United lose. However, as he has done over the past few years, Ten Hag could produce a much-needed performance and victory to relieve the pressure. Whatever happens, it's going to be an eventful weekend at Old Trafford. Garnacho battle. Alejandro Garnacho is proving to be one of United's most consistent players, but it's reported that United are preparing for a battle to keep hold of the forward. According to The Sun, Barcelona and Juventus are keeping tabs on the 20-year-old's situation with a view to bid next summer. He signed a 5-year contract in April, but United are said to want £50 million for him. Bruno Fernandes' decision mind-blowing as VAR solution has already been found. Column: VAR proved it was not fit for purpose when it did not overrule Bruno Fernandes' red card. It's mind-blowing that Bruno Fernandes is not banned for Manchester United. You can't have 4 officials inside the ground and 2 in a VAR room view an incident twice just for the decision to be overruled a couple of days later.